everyone, this is Amy. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how I do just a real cute yellow flower on this glass pickle jar. I like to recycle these jars. They're very pretty once they're painted. They're great to use for simple storage of, if you're a sewer, you put notions in there. If you're wanting something kind of cute for your bathroom storage, cotton balls, Q-tips, whatnots, maybe even makeup brushes, that type of thing. Using glass jars is a great way to repurpose, save it from going into the landfill, and you have a cute home decor piece. So let's go ahead and get started. Today I'm going to be using my magic brushes. I'm using a number 6, a number 8, and a number 10. These are flat brushes. Long handled though, and I don't really care too much for the long handled part, but I actually bought them originally to do watercolors with. And then I'm going to be using my Princeton 3/0 round brush. Paints I'm using today are all FolkArt paints, combination, oh actually not even a combination, I think these are all multi-surfaces tonight. I use pale yellow, classic green, lime green, Bumble Bee, not using that one, I don't know if I have that in the mix, yellow ochre, and real brown. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. I am going to begin by doing my center. I started off wrong. Okay, using my center doing my center. I'm just going to be doing one flower for this, even though I did 3 for my sample. I am using the yellow ochre and the pale yellow, and I'm going to be just doing a simple circle in the center here, using the combination of the two. And I'm just going to very easily do as close to a circle as I can get. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means. It's just going to be the center of the flower, so as close to that as possible, but doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm trying to get a good coat on here. I have already washed these glass jars off. A tip for you before you start painting, make sure you do clean them with soap and water and put rubbing alcohol or rub rubbing alcohol on it just to get any leftover debris or oils from touching it. And then try not to touch the surface very much. You want a good base to paint on so it adheres to your glass, and that's the best way to do it. And here we go. Alright, so just very simple, and if you want to have some shading on here you can, or you can just leave it pretty much just kind of a little mixture of colors is fine. You actually have a step that you're going to be doing over the top of this, so as flat as you can get it is great. And here we go. Alright, the next step I'm going to do is to take my brush, and this would be the number 8 that I'm using, and I'm going to just go through and then draw out the flower petal, and you can do some basic coating of this because I'm going to go over it again. Now I'm going to be drawing this out, not meaning to do anything perfect here. It's just going to be a basic leaf shape. And not just a single coat of paint either. I'm going to be coming back through with some more paint. But I just want to do the basic shape here to begin with. So I'm just taking my brush and then just drawing a petal shape. Just a simple petal shape. And that's something too you might want to look up and study a little bit, or some basic shapes for flower petals and leaves. Because there are some definite basics. This flower can be a 6-petal or a 5-petal flower. Just depends on the room you have and what you decide you want the flower to look like. And this is not meant to be any specific flower, just so you know. It's just a generic design. I think on my paper design I just did 5 petals for each flower, but I did 3 flowers. On this one it looks like I'm going to get in a good 6 here. That'll come up into the top here, which I can cut it off, or I can do this, continue on making it look like it comes up. Just kind of filling in the voided areas here. So it may not be as neat looking, or I can cut it off like it stops at the top there, however I want to do it. But for this I'm choosing to go up into the top and continue on with the petal. But again, that's up to me. Then I'm going to come back with the pale yellow and then just tip in more of this Bumble Bee. And then I might do some shading with the yellow ochre. Now this step is optional. You don't have to do this step. But one reason I chose to do it initially on my paper was so that I could distinguish between the different flower petals, because they're overlapping. And you'll see that when you see the pictures that I post for the video. And I'm trying not to overwork this or work this too much, because I really don't want to cause the paint to come up. And you can switch out brushes if you feel like you need to do something a little smaller at this point, after diving into doing the creation. Okay. I just thought it was a cute flower. I'm trying to do some little different designs, not just the basic stuff that you see all the time, see everybody else doing all the time. I'm just doing light strokes too, just very light strokes on this design. And then I'm going to just keep doing it until I get to the end. Put in some of that yellow ochre, which I really like that color. I need to get some more of it, but I really like it. I just thought it would be fun to throw a yellow flower into the mix. Alright, so we're getting moving on here. And then something I like to point out too when I'm painting is that once you're done with your design, if you're going to bake it, because with this paint you don't have to bake, I would recommend it if possible, because I've heard things where it actually makes it a little bit more durable if you bake it. The paint does give you the option of air drying, and that's for 21 days, which I just need to point out too with that, it doesn't mean you can't use the item. It's just that it's not fully cured, to the fullest strength of the paint for that length of time. Definitely, cures it faster by baking it, of course. But you have to know too that whenever you're baking glassware, it's very, very important to place the item in your cold oven before you turn it on. Add your preheat time to the bake time of your paint. So like this paint requires a 30-minute bake time at 350 degrees. So if your oven takes 10 minutes to heat up, then you have it in there with the oven on for 40 minutes. Mine takes a little bit longer, so I have mine in there for 50 minutes. Now it's not going to hurt it if you bake it a little longer. That's not going to be a problem, just so you know. I mean, obviously don't leave it in there all day with the temperature on. Let's see, this is starting to raise. It's one thing you have to kind of watch out for. If you overwork the paint, it'll start to come up. It'll start to raise, so you just have to be really careful with it. And I'm trying to. But anyhow, when you're baking, make sure you add that preheat time to your bake time. When it's finished baking, turn off the oven, allow the oven to cool before you take out the painted item. It's the sudden change in temperature that can affect the glass and cause the breaking. So when you've worked really hard on a design, taken your time, worked on your design, and you pull it out too soon, and all of a sudden it just shatters, you don't want that. You want your design to last, and you want it to be in one piece so that you can use it, gift it, whatever it is you're planning to do with it. It'll be there for you from the beginning to the end. Let's see, like I said, this is getting to where it's starting to pull up, so I just have to be really careful. I'm just going to kind of lightly tap in the petal up here. Just try to line it up the best I can. It may not be perfect, but that's okay. You get the gist, right? Again, I'm just lightly touching it. I'm not going to mess with it too much because I really don't want to pull it up. And you don't want to put your paint on too thick too, because it can bubble when you're baking it. For some reason you are doing a painted design that's really thick, you just might want to let it air dry. And like I said, if you let it dry and you feel like you need to go over your painting with another coat, feel free to do so like this, but I'm not going to mess with that because I'm afraid that it's going to pull the paint up. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do on this design is take my little round brush, and I am just going to come through here and do little pulls. Just very simple, like that. And then put a little dot at the end. Maybe a little bit bigger dot than that. And a little dot here. Do the next thing, it's just going to be on each petal. Again, it's just a very light touch that I'm doing too. if you want to hit your item with a heat gun or hair dryer, and I apologize, my air conditioning's coming on. You can actually, give it a little bit of dry time by doing a heat gun or a hair dryer, whichever one is handy. I've used both, and then continue painting. Now that does not substitute for baking. I do need to make sure you're clear on that one, because I have had people ask me, do I still have to bake it? Well, yeah, that's just giving it a little bit of dry time. It's not curing the paint by any means, because even if you do hit it with a hair dryer or a heat gun, it's not going to be completely dry unless the paint was put on very thinly. In that case, you really don't want it to be that thin. So that's something you have to keep in mind too. But it is not meant to replace the bake time by hitting it with a heat gun or a hair dryer. Now with this paint, it's not something where you're required to do any kind of base preparation other than cleaning the glass, nor is there a requirement to do any special coating once the item is cured. However, you can use like the Mod Podge dishwasher safe if you want to put that on it. You can use the clear medium for the glass if you want. It just gives it a little added durability, so that's up to you, but it's not a requirement. So I know there have been some products out on the market that actually required preparation for the glass prior to painting on it, and also once you were done, but this does not. And see, with what I'm doing right now, if I hit it with a hair dryer or a heat gun, it wouldn't be, the colors would be better, because it's wet, so it's letting me pull up the paint a little bit as I go across or mixing it. And I can let it dry and go back over it, or just kind of lightly go over it now. It's whatever look you're trying to get. If this bothers you, then do what you need to do to get it dry. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to continue on painting. But it's up to you, what your preferences are. Alright, so I have that part done. The next thing I'm going to do to get this finished up is to put my paintbrush in the greens that I have, and these are different ones for me, the classic green and the lime green. And then I'm just going to take, gotta be careful here I don't stick my fingers on it, but then once again just make my petal shapes just like I did for the flowers. They're basically the same shape, or if not similar. And then I'm just going to come in and coat them with the greens. Again, I'm keeping this simple. This is definitely a simple glass painting. And I'll come back this way. I just want to put a nice thick coat on. Just work on blending the paint a little bit here to make it a nice coat. And I'm trying to do, I should have probably done it the opposite way. For some reason I like to put the light on the bottom, but in all honesty, with the sun source or light source, it would probably be the opposite. And if you don't care about that, then don't worry about it. Put it whichever direction you want it. And I'm just filling it in, basically. And this one's just taking a little time because of the method and how I'm painting it and trying to get good coverage. That's really the reason. So you can see I am putting quite a bit of paint on here. And if you wanted to add a little bit of white into this, that would be great too. Up to you, once again. And again, I'm just putting touch this through a little bit there, just putting the green, the darker green on top. I can do the opposite direction. But I like to keep it, when I'm doing the two petals together like this, so that you can see the difference between the two petals. So I have the dark on top and the dark on top as they touch, because I have the lighter on the bottom. And that way it distinguishes the two from each other. And you could also do this where you painted the leaves first and then put in the flower. But I decided to do it this way, just fine. Either way works. Alright, so I got those two in. And then I'm just going to come over here, and I don't want to mess those up. Come over here and do two over here. I can just, again, just draw them in. And they don't have to be identical. Exactly the same as far as size and all that good stuff. From one side to the other. Oops, oh, God, I don't want to do that. I always do that. I don't want to touch it on there. Let me see here. See if I can hold it up and do it. I'm so bad about that. Constantly having to fix my errors. Alright. Almost done, folks. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging with me. Now I'm going to quickly do this second one and we'll be done. Again, I'm doing the dark on the top. Just to be able to see the difference between the two. And that should be all it takes. Alright, I'm going to leave it at that. You know, when you get up into here with this, you can clean it off a little bit if you don't like exactly how that looks, but I think it's cute. Just kind of a little whimsical design. Nothing real difficult about it by any means at all. Just some basic leaf shapes and a little bit of line work. Alright, I hope you like this. If you do, give me a big thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And then when you're finished watching the video, if you would share this on your social network with your family and friends, I would appreciate it. That's just very easy. There is a share button underneath the video. Alright, well, I hope you stay safe and healthy. And thanks again for taking time to view my videos. Stick around to maybe view some more while you're at it. And until the next time, you have a good one.